Monday, August 25th. After inspecting some of the Italian units fighting on the Soviet front, Mussolini flies to meet Hitler at the Wolf's Lair, his headquarters in Rostenburg, East Prussia, Poland. The Nazi leader tells him he hopes to be able to spend Christmas celebrating Stalin's defeat. Over the following days, they will discuss aspects of the war. In London, Churchill declares that the Germans are murdering thousands of people in Russia. Nothing like it has occurred since the Mongolian invasions of Europe in the 16th century, he says, denouncing what he labels a despicable crime. British, Canadian, and Norwegian commandos launch Operation Gauntlet, landing on the Norwegian island of Spitsbergen, western Spitsberg, in the Svalbard archipelago in the Arctic Sea. They destroy the German coal and oil supplies and evacuate 2,000 Russian civilians. In the Middle East, the occupation of the oil-rich region of southern Iran proceeds. The British and Russian ambassadors in the country hand an ultimatum to the government, calling on it to accept Allied protection. In the Sea War, the German submarines operating in wolf pack formations sink 25 ships from an Allied convoy in the Atlantic. Tuesday, August 26th. Hitler and Mussolini visit the fortress of Brest-Litovsk, Belarus. In a confidential report by the OKW, the Supreme Command of the Armed Forces, General Wilhelm Keitel admits that the operations in Russia will not be completed this year and will continue at least to mid-1942. Army Group North occupies the city of Luga on its way to Leningrad. Army Group South captures Chernobyl near Kiev and the industrial city of Dnepropetrovsk. More than 100,000 prisoners are taken, and the regions of the Crimea and the Azov Sea are threatened. Most of the factories have been relocated to the east. Stalin dismisses Commander Ivan Tulinev from his post on the southern front. The Russian government calls on Japan not to block trade with the United States. President Roosevelt declares he will send a military mission led by John Magruder to Chiang Kai-shek's China to study what the Chinese need in terms of war materials. Wednesday, August 27th. In France, Pierre Laval, who was ousted from power in December 1940 and is an advocate of the Vichy government's collaboration with the Nazi regime, is wounded in a terrorist attack. In the Soviet-German War, units from Army Group North march towards Veliki Luki. The Soviets evacuate thousands of soldiers and civilians from the port of Tallinn in the Baltic. Out of the 190 ships carrying men, women, and children, the Germans sink 25, killing more than 5,000 people, including soldiers and civilians. The The Finnish government refuses to collaborate with Germany in its actions against Russia. In the Middle East, in Iran, after the occupation of the oil fields of Abadan by British troops, a new government is formed which signs an armistice with the Allies. In the Pacific, the Japanese government protests at American violations of its territorial waters by ships carrying war materials to the port of Vladivostok, Russia. In the Battle of the Atlantic, the convoy OS-4 is attacked by a submarine wolf pack that sinks 6 ships. U-570, captained by Commander Hans Romloff, is spotted by an aircraft from a Coast Guard squadron, and after being hit several times, is forced to surrender. Taken to Britain, it will later resurface in the Royal Navy under the new name of HMS Graf. Thursday, August 28th. In Russia, the Germans finalize operations in Estonia and continue to advance towards Leningrad. The panzer divisions of Army Group North reach the suburbs of the city. In the south, as the Russian forces retreat, they destroy the Zaporozhye Dam on River Dnieper. Close to Kamyanets, Podilsky, in western Ukraine, another terrible episode in the Nazis' final solution takes place. The mass murder of more than 25,000 Jewish citizens, most of them from Hungary, over 2 days. This Holocaust is carried out under the orders of SS General Franz Jeckeln. Meanwhile, Hitler and Mussolini fly over the areas conquered on their trip to Iman, where the headquarters of Marshal Gerd von Rundstedt's Army Group South is located. In response to criticisms from the Catholic bishop Clemens von Galen and the unease of a section of the German society, Hitler decides to close down the euthanasia program Action T4, which has killed nearly 100,000 people. In London, Winston Churchill has a long telephone conversation with President Roosevelt to go over the final details of the Joint Military Commission that will travel to Russia to offer Stalin all the help they can afford. Friday, August 29th. Finnish troops capture the cities of Viipuri, Viborg, and Teriaki, Zelenogorsk, which had been handed over to the Russians in the Winter War of 1940. Once the lost ground has been taken back, the Finns consider the continuation war to be at an end and halt their advance. Wilhelm Keitel, head of the Supreme Command of the Wehrmacht, calls on Marshal Carl Gustaf Mannerheim, the commander-in-chief of the Finnish forces, to continue to advance and help in the siege of Leningrad. Mannerheim, in agreement with the president of Finland, Risto Ryti, decides that it is wiser to stop at the River Svir, the old border. The attack on Leningrad is a German affair. In France, a volunteer division of the Wehrmacht is formed and placed under the command of Hans von Boyneberg-Lengsfeld. In Turkey, President İsmet İnönü welcomes the German ambassador Franz von Papen, who wants the country to remain neutral. In Tokyo, the Prime Minister Prince Fumimaro Konoye declares that the Japanese ambassador in America, Kichisaburo Nomura, has met President Roosevelt in Washington and handed him a message explaining Japan's position on issues concerning the two countries in the Pacific. Saturday, August 30th. In the Soviet-German War, after heavy fighting, troops from Army Group North take Nyega on the outskirts of Leningrad and cut the last railway connections between the city and the rest of Russia. Meanwhile, a Soviet naval squadron on River Neva attacks the Germans at Gachina. In the center, the Soviets launch an unsuccessful offensive against the Germans. In the south, Kleist's and Guderian's forces begin the final attack of the First Battle of Kiev. The Russians attempt a counteroffensive to the north of the city with the 21st Army, but are defeated. Stalin rules out a retreat. The British government orders its citizens to leave Japan. RAF bombers attack the German cities of Frankfurt and Mannheim and Le Havre in France. They also launch attacks against several Greek airfields occupied by the Germans, including that of Heraklion in Crete. Joseph Goebbels, the Third Reich propaganda minister, travels to Slovakia, where he visits Dr. Wojciech Tuka, the head of state, and Hans Karmasian, the leader of the Nazi party in the country. In North Africa, Axis forces undertake a new attack with their artillery, shelling Tobruk, Libya. Sunday, August 31st. On the eve of the third year of the war, Hitler's forces occupy Europe from Hendaye in France to Leningrad in Russia. In the Soviet Union, after engaging in fierce fighting north of the river Luga, the Germans forced the Soviets to withdraw and capture 20,000 soldiers. In the south, various attempts by the Red Army to occupy the right bank of the river Dnieper fail. In the United Kingdom, the Foreign Minister Anthony Eden calls on Parliament to increase armaments production to support the Soviet Union. The RAF bombs Essen, Cologne, and other industrial areas in Germany. In the United States, General Frederick L. Martin, commander of the Hawaiian Air Force, and Vice Admiral Patrick N.L. Bellinger, who is responsible for the air defense of Pearl Harbor, submit to Washington the plan for the use of bombers in the defense of Oahu. The report explains how the Japanese could attack the base. Unfortunately, it will be ignored by the government and the High Command. 30,000 Philippine soldiers join the American Army. In North Africa, German planes attack the naval base of Alexandria and Port Said in Egypt.